Well, good morning, and thank you for letting me lead off today. First of all, yes, I'm very casual, so in case you're wondering why I'm still wearing my jacket, no, it's not just to match my picture in the event poster. You see, my talk is about the secret to feeling at home in Japan, and I will later reveal part of my secret under my jacket, but you'll have to wait 9 or 10 minutes for that. Anyway, several years ago, I was talking with a fellow American in Japan about our upcoming vacations to the US, when he said something that struck me as quite strange. I like visiting the US, he said, but after a week or so, I start to feel homesick for Japan. So how is it possible for an American to feel homesick for Japan? After all, many foreign residents will tell you how difficult it can be to feel completely accepted in Japan. So this was one of the sparks for my project in which I asked fellow long-term residents the question, what exactly helped you feel at home in Japan? In the end, I received 30 personal narratives from people from 10 different countries. But let me start with my own cross-cultural journey. As mentioned, I am American, but I believe I'm not a typical American. And this number here represents one reason why. Nearly 3/4 of Americans live near where they were born. But I was born in the idyllic small town of Oswego, New York, which is more than 10,000 kilometers away from Okayama, Japan. And just like Okayama's own Yamamoto Yoshinobu, World Series champion Yamamoto Yoshinobu, perhaps as a little boy, never imagined he'd someday be pitching in the US. Of course, I never imagined I'd someday be speaking in a faraway place called Okayama. Now, in addition to Oswego, I've had many homes in my life. But let me rephrase that. This is just a list of places I've lived in my life. Whether I could call all of them home, well, that's another question. And although I'm not a typical American, there is one thing about me that is very, very American. Do you know the missing word in this expression? As American as blank and apple pie. Well, of course, it's baseball, the American pastime. Baseball has always been a part of my life. And the French-American historian Jacques Barzun said, whoever wants to know the heart and mind of America had better learn baseball. But Tobita Suishu, Japan's god of baseball, had a different take. Baseball is more than just a game, he wrote. Through it, one learns the beautiful and noble spirit of Japan. So I'd like to think that as long as two countries share such a passion for baseball, it would be easy to move from one of these countries to the other, which I first did way back in 1994 when I settled in the northern Japan city of Sapporo. But of course, it isn't that simple. Our countries may share a passion for baseball, but we also have some severe cultural differences. Speaking of which, in 1955, Sverre Lisgard proposed his U-curve model of cultural adaptation with 4 stages. But I'm pretty sure Lisgard wasn't a baseball fan. So today, I'd like to present my modified version through my experiences with Japanese baseball. 1995, I'm not that old, I went to my first Japanese baseball game between the then Oryx Blue Wave and Seibu Lions at charming Maruyama Stadium in Sapporo. It was such a promising and exciting day. Although, of course, I enjoyed my first year in Japan, I still felt like a cultural outsider. But I hoped maybe my passion for baseball could help me get insights into Japanese culture and love this country even more. And maybe, just maybe, feel at home here. And I did soon discover that although American and Japanese baseball generally has the same rules, Japanese baseball is also very unique. Wow, they sing songs for every player during the game, and they have these crazy cheering sections, waving giant flags and banging drums. And instead of hot dogs, well, let's try this squid on a stick. But hey, I like squid on a stick. Like I told you, I'm not a typical American. As you may know, This stage of cultural adaptation is called the honeymoon stage. Everything is so fresh and new and exciting. Now, I'd love to say this was the day I started to completely feel at home in Japan, but that would make this one of the shortest TED Talks ever. And again, this is a U-shaped model, meaning, to paraphrase Isaac Newton or David Clayton Thomas, what starts up must go down. You see, despite my initial enthusiasm, something shocking happened that day. For perhaps in the first time in my life, I actually started to feel bored at a baseball game. So how is this possible? So looking back, although I really wanted to like Japanese baseball, I was still viewing our shared sport through my American mindset. To me, baseball still meant home runs and hot dogs and the Red Sox and Yankees. So instead of just embracing these exciting differences, young and stupid me started to ask critical questions about Japanese baseball. Why do they bunt so much? Why don't they sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game"? Why can't I get a hot dog? Who really wants to eat squid at a baseball game? And that star player in right field, how do you say his name? Ichiro. Who's that? Well, let's just say I slightly underestimated Ichiro. Now, it's clear I was experiencing frustration. Although it was very exciting to live in a new country, I still couldn't completely accept some of the things that were different. So, again, this is just a model of cultural adaptation through a baseball game. So don't be surprised if my honeymoon stage only lasted an hour or two. As you may know, we do have a very high divorce rate in America. Now, one thing I came to appreciate later about baseball in Japan is they don't boo players as much as we do in the US. So before you start booing me for being frustrated with Japan and Japanese baseball, again, keep in mind that this is a U-shaped model. So what goes down also must go back up. Indeed, there were still some things that frustrated me about Japanese baseball. For example, why do they have tie games? There's no tying in baseball. But much, much more importantly, I started to appreciate the differences. Sure, maybe they bunt too much in Japan, but bunting is part of making sacrifices for the team. So it's a commendable mirror of Japanese society. And as mentioned, we like to boo the other team in the US, but I really came to respect in Japan how the focus is more on just cheering for your own team. And so many fans will continue to cheer enthusiastically until the very end of the game, even if their team is losing 10-0. And you will discover soon that I have experienced a lot of losing as a baseball fan, only as a baseball fan. So we could call this stage adjustment. And it seems so simple. You move to a foreign country, you adjust to the culture. But I've met more than a few fellow foreigners in Japan who seem stuck in that frustration stage and thus never quite called Japan home. So I was appreciating Japanese baseball more and more and adjusting to life in Japan, but I honestly still miss the game I grew up with. Again, there's a big difference between merely adjusting to something and truly embracing it. So what was missing? Well, let's jump ahead in our story to the magical summer of 1998, when an Australian friend invited me to another Japanese baseball game. And this is important, not just because it might be the only time in history an Australian had to convince an American to go to a baseball game. So thank you for that, Paul. You have to see this team, Paul excitedly told me. Their fans are absolutely insane. They're the most passionate baseball fans in Japan. And Paul sure was right. These were some crazy, passionate fans. And that team was, of course, my Hanshin Tigers. Thank you. Okay, I feel better. So, I've had this jersey for 20 years, so please excuse the beer stains, okay? Now, don't get me wrong. I totally respect and appreciate the calmness and professionalism at the workplace in Japan, but I also love to witness passion. And again, these Tigers fans were passionate. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you passion, Exhibit A. I really wanted to wear that today, okay? I'd never seen passion like this at a baseball game. They cheered every hit like it was a home run. Every run scored made the fans sing songs and celebrate with strangers. This was more than just a game. It was like a matsuri or festival. But the most important thing that day is I didn't feel like some foreigner or outsider. I immediately felt a part of the passion. And even after the game finished, these crazy Tigers fans surrounded Maruyama Stadium, singing the Tigers theme song, Roko Oroshi, over and over again, like they just won the championship. And that year, my Tigers, my new team, did win 52 games, woohoo, and lost 83 games, a mere 27 games out of first place. But that didn't matter, because I'd found my team. More importantly, I'd found my passion. So we can call this final stage acceptance. I never truly accepted Japanese baseball, or let's say Japan as a whole, until I found my team and my passion. And even in Sapporo, they oddly had an izakaya for Hanshin Tigers supporters, and we were immediately accepted there. But let me jump ahead again in my story again to 2004, when of course, purely by chance, I relocated to the Kansai region of Japan, the actual home of the Hanshin Tigers. And I soon discovered that my passion for a local baseball team also made me a member of a community. As any foreigner in Japan may tell you, it can be very difficult to make that transition from Soto, or being an outsider, to Uchi, or insider. When you're Soto in Japan and just a guest, you're constantly asked the same basic questions. Where are you from? Why did you come to Japan? Can you use chopsticks? Can you eat natto? Of course, okay. But once I found my passion for the Tigers, I could elevate from small talk to, shall we say, Uchi talk. It was an exciting game last night, wasn't it? Who's pitching tonight? Why can't we beat the Giants? Will we ever win the Japan series? So, well, you celebrate together and you suffer together. Actually, after becoming a Tigers fan, I suffered for 25 long years. But again, that doesn't matter. You see, there was a more important change after I found my passion for the Tigers. When I first came to Japan, as an English as a foreign language teacher, I thought my job was to share my American culture. But I quickly learned that you make much deeper connections and you're also accepted more if you know and embrace the local culture. And I also made my biggest growth as a teacher when I took this step. But I would like to return to this fourth stage of acceptance, because today I'd like to propose a fifth and stronger stage, because I think we need something more than to merely accept a culture, as we also need to be accepted. So what is that fifth and stronger stage? Well, of course, it's connected to baseball. What's the object of baseball? To go home. And I believe the fifth and stronger stage is to be able to feel at home in a foreign country, which returns me to my big question. Are there any secrets to feeling at home in Japan? In a famous 2007 TED Talk, Richard St. John revealed the number one secret to success is passion. And I also strongly believe that passion is the secret to feeling at home in a foreign country. But again, many foreigners never quite feel at home in Japan. But I'd like to share a very important quote by Karen Hill Anton, who has called Japan home since 1975. In her memoir, Karen wrote, "I would stand out in Japan, always. But I could also fit in." So what helped Karen fit in? Of course, finding a passion for something in Japan and sharing that passion with Japanese people. For me, that passion was baseball. For Karen, it was shodo, or Japanese calligraphy. Now, they say every picture tells a story. And these days, you might see some terrible images of foreign tourists in Japan hanging from shrine gates or blocking the road to get that perfect picture of Mount Fuji for Instagram. But I want you to forget these pictures today. These people are the minority, and they don't properly represent foreigners here in Japan. Today, I have much more powerful images for you. These are the pictures that tell the stories of fellow foreigners who also came to feel at home in Japan, thanks to some passion. Like Karen, your passion might be for another traditional art, such as Japanese pottery. Your passion might be just a hobby, or you could even rise to the level of grandmaster of sado, or tea ceremony. You might develop a passion for matsuri, or Japanese festivals. Like me, you might fall in love with the Hanshin Tigers, but even write about sports for the Japanese media. Instead of baseball, your passion could be soccer or Japan's J-League. If you have a passion for the Japanese language, you could become a translator of Japanese books, or even an interpreter for the wonderful world of my second favorite sport, sumo. Your passion could be so deep that you become a guide for the sacred Kumano Kodo pilgrimage. But finally, where do you call home? It could be a mega city like Tokyo, it could be a beautiful, friendly city like here in Okayama, or it could even be Kamikatsu, the zero-waste village, Tokushima Prefecture. Your home might even be a farmhouse in Shiga Prefecture, passed down for 19 generations. Or you could even become a rare, foreign, female, red-headed Buddhist priest and call a temple your home. But please remember one important thing today. Calling Japan home does not mean giving up your old home. New York State and our lovely, lovely winters, that's Ziva, will always be my home. But thanks to my passion, I can also say I feel at home here in Japan. So I'd like to finish today with these words from the classic movie, The Wizard of Oz. I do see a lot of young people, so who has seen the movie, The Wizard of Oz? Please raise your hand. Okay, not too many. So sorry if not, big spoiler alert. At the very end of the movie, Dorothy desperately wants to go back home. So she closes her eyes and repeats many times these words, "There's no place like home." So I'd like to try that today in English. Could you please close your eyes? Please close your eyes. And let's repeat several times. Let's repeat. Ready? There's no place like home. There's no place like home. And now one more time, all together, go. There's no place like home. But what or where is home? It might be where you were born, or it might even be 10,000 kilometers away. But if you're very lucky, like me, it might be both. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.